Hello. Today we're covering competitive intelligence, the systematic practice of tracking what your competitors are doing so you can anticipate their moves rather than just reacting to them. This one feels different from everything else on this channel. It's not a survey method, it's not a statistical algorithm, it's a strategic discipline, and it's one that most brands do poorly, informally, or not at all. By the end, you'll know exactly what to track, where to find the information, how to organize it, and how to turn it into decisions. Let's start with the problem. Here's how competitive intelligence fails in most organizations. Someone noticed a competitor's new product on the shelf 3 weeks after it launched. A sales rep mentions that a rival cut their price, and it's already starting to affect volume. The team sees a competitor's new campaign after it's been running for a month and building awareness. Each of those is useful information, but it arrives too late to inform a proactive response. You're already behind by the time you find out. The goal of competitive intelligence is to close that gap, to know what's happening in the competitive landscape before it surprises you. The shift that competitive intelligence requires is from reactive to proactive. Most teams monitor competitors informally. They notice things, they hear things, they remember things. CI turns that informal awareness into a structured, systematic process that's running continuously in the background. The goal is simple. Know what's coming before it arrives. When you can see a competitor's pricing move, product launch, or message shift early, even a few weeks early, you have time to respond strategically rather than scrambling. Competitive intelligence is the systematic process of gathering, analyzing, and acting on information about competitors, their pricing, products, messaging, and distribution strategy using publicly available sources. The word that matters most in that definition is systematic, not occasional, not informal, not when someone happens to notice something. A CI program runs on a schedule, covers specific competitors, tracks specific signals, and feeds into specific decisions. That consistency is what separates it from the scattered competitive awareness most organizations already have. Before we go any further, a clarification worth making explicitly. Competitive intelligence is not corporate espionage. Everything we're going to cover in this video comes from legitimate, publicly available sources, retail shelves and store visits, company websites and press releases, advertising, including ad libraries that show you every ad a competitor is running right now, social media, job postings, earnings calls, press coverage. All of it is publicly available and completely appropriate to use. The competitive advantage isn't in accessing private information. It's in being more systematic and more attentive to public information than your competitors are. A complete competitive intelligence program tracks 4 areas: price and promotions, what competitors charge, how frequently they promote, and how deeply. Product and innovation, what new products they're launching, what's in the pipeline, and what categories they're moving into. Messaging and communication, what they're saying to consumers on what channels and with what tone and creative direction. And distribution and shelf, where they're selling, how much physical presence they have, and whether they're expanding into new channels. Those 4 pillars together give you a complete picture of the competitive landscape, not just one dimension of it. Let's ground this in a real scenario. Oatwave is a plant-based oat milk brand that's preparing for a new product launch and conducting a pricing review. Before making either decision, the team needs a clear current picture of 3 key competitors: Almond Pure, which occupies the premium ends of the category; Oat First, their closest direct competitor in terms of price and positioning; and Green Milk, a newer brand that's been growing quickly. Their CI program will tell them where the category is heading, which moves they need to respond to, and which opportunities haven't been claimed yet. The first pillar is price and promotions, arguably the most operationally immediate. You're tracking the regular shelf price of each competitor's key SKUs, how that compares on a price per ounce basis, how frequently each brand runs promotions, and how deep those promotions go. You're also watching for trends. Are competitors raising prices, holding them, or cutting them? Where to find this? Regular store visits are the most direct and reliable source. Retailer websites and apps often show current prices. Retail data services like Nielsen and Circana provide structured price tracking at scale if you have access to them. And price tracking tools can automate some of this for online retail. What this tells you is where you sit in the price hierarchy and whether anyone is using price aggressively to buy share. The second pillar is product and innovation, tracking what competitors are building and launching. New SKU launches, formula changes, packaging redesigns, new sizes and formats, products appearing in test markets. The goal is to see innovation early, before it's fully scaled nationally. Where to find it? Regular store visits, especially at retailers known for carrying new products early. New product databases like Mintel and Data Central track launches systematically. PR announcements and social media often preview new products before they hit full distribution. And here's one that surprises people. Job posting. A competitor that's suddenly hiring food scientists in a new category or packaging engineers for a specific format is often signaling exactly where their innovation pipeline is heading, months before anything appears on a shelf. The third pillar is messaging and communication, what competitors are saying, how they're saying it, and on what channels. Brands positioning and key claims on packaging. Advertising, creative and copy. Social media content and tone. Influencer partnerships. And how all of that changes over time, because the shifts in messaging are often the earliest signal of a repositioning. Where to find this? Meta's Ad Library and Google's Ad Transparency Center both show you every active ad a brand is running right now for free. PR Wire service captures press releases and campaign launches. Social media monitoring tools track content patterns over time. And just reading competitor packaging in the store aisle is more informative than most teams realize. What this tells you is what positioning territory competitors are claiming, and whether your own messaging is becoming less distinctive because someone else is starting to say the same things. The fourth pillar is distribution and shelf, the physical presence of each competitor in the market. Which retailers carry them? Where they sit on the shelf, eye level versus bottom shelf. The number of facings they hold. How much linear space they command. Whether they're expanding into new channels, direct-to-consumer, food service accounts, convenience and drugs. Where to find this? Store visits across multiple retail formats are the most important source. Walk the plant-based milk aisle at every format you visit. Retailer websites and apps often show you which products are listed, and shopper research can give you a quantitative read on how visible each brand actually is during a typical shopping mission. What this tells you is whether a competitor is gaining distribution momentum and whether you're losing shelf space without realizing it. With all four pillars tracked, you need a way to organize the information so it's usable rather than buried in notes and spreadsheets. The simplest solution is a competitor profile, a one-page document per competitor covering 5 areas: price positioning, recent product moves, key messages and claims, distribution footprints, and notable recent activity, updated quarterly, shared across marketing, product, sales, and leadership. That document becomes the common reference that keeps the whole organization looking at the same picture when competitive decisions are being made. Without it, different teams are working from different, often contradictory, mental models of what competitors are doing. Not every competitive move requires a response. The goal of CI isn't to react to everything, it's to identify the moves that actually matter. 4 signals deserve immediate attention. First, a price cut that breaks the category's pricing structure. That's usually a signal of a competitor buying share aggressively and ignoring its risks volume loss. Second, a new product that fills a gap you were planning to fill. You've just lost first mover advantage on a white space you identified. Third, a messaging shift where a competitor starts claiming your strongest positioning territory. If your key differentiator is becoming the industry standard claim, your brand is at risk of losing its distinctiveness. And fourth, a sudden distribution expansion where a competitor is gaining presence at retailers that matter to you. Here's what Oatwave's CI programming turned up, all from publicly available sources. From price tracking, green milk has entered the market at 30 cents per ounce below Oatwave's price point, a significant gap that threatens Oatwave's value tier. From product monitoring, Almond Pure has quietly launched a barista edition targeted at coffee shops, a channel Oatwave hasn't prioritized, now with a premium competitor establishing a foothold. From messaging, OatFirst has shifted its advertising from health claims to taste and deliciousness claims, the exact territory Oatwave's brand equity research shows them owning. And from distribution, green milk is gaining shelf facings at 3 major grocery chains where Oatwave holds strong placement. 4 findings, 4 potential strategic responses, all from sources any brand can access. Let's be balanced. The strengths of competitive intelligence: it keeps the organization proactive rather than perpetually reactive. It feeds directly and immediately into the decisions that matter most: pricing, product development, messaging, and channel strategy. And it's more accessible than most teams assume, because the vast majority of valuable competitive information is publicly available without any specialized access or tools. The limitations: public sources have gaps, and you won't see everything that matters. Signals can be misread. A competitor's job posting in a new category is suggestive, not definitive. CI becomes stale quickly if it isn't updated regularly. The half-life of competitive information is short and fast-moving categories, and more information isn't always better. The real skill is filtering the signals that matter from the noise that doesn't require a response. 6 things to take with you. Track the 4 pillars: price and promotions, product and innovation, messaging and communication, distribution and shelf, because each one reveals a different dimension of the competitive landscape. Use publicly available sources systematically and on schedule, not just when something catches your attention. Build a simple competitor profile for each key competitor and update it quarterly so the whole organization is working from a shared picture. Watch for the 4 warning signals: pricing structure breaks, white space being filled, positioning territory being claimed, and distribution expansion. That typically requires an immediate strategic response. Feed CI findings directly into your pricing, product, and messaging decisions rather than treating them as interesting background information. And remember that the goal isn't to react to every competitor's move, it's to anticipate the moves that matter and respond strategically rather than scrambling. Thank you for watching.